So you want to move to the cloud. Great. But if you're watching this video, chances are that you're not able to make that decision alone. You've probably been asked to build a business case as part of an evaluation effort, and maybe you're not sure how to get started on such a thing. Don't worry about it. We've all been there, myself included. My first business case was trying to convince the company I worked for at the time why we needed to pay for a full-time connection to the internet, which was a tough sell because our dial-up modem service sent emails just fine. Hopefully through this series, you'll pick up on some tips and ideas on creating that mysterious thing known as a cloud adoption business case. In this first module, I'll talk about what my 3 guiding principles are when preparing a business case. We'll also talk about how to get started, which can be really hard if you're just staring at a blank sheet of paper. Plus, I'll go over what I'd expect to see covered in a cloud adoption business case. And by the way, we did get our full-time internet connection, which in 1994 was pretty cool. I believe there are 3 keys to preparing a solid business case. First, be sure you're solving the right problem. Most organizations don't invest in something just because it's really cool. Rather, there will usually be some sort of overarching strategy or challenge that will be at the core of your business case. Your company might want new business capabilities or the ability to bring products to market faster. Perhaps your company needs to find some way to reduce overhead to remain competitive. Whatever the challenge, your business case needs to be laser focused on that thing. Next, you'll want to be sure that your business case is thorough and covers all perspectives. This might seem really obvious, but we all have our own biases and blind spots, and sometimes very important details are lurking in these shadows. I can recall such a situation in my own career. I had written what I thought was a perfect bulletproof business case for why we needed to buy this software over this other software. And as I was presenting my case to the budgetary committee members, most looked really confused and unimpressed. And from the questions they were asking, my oversight was then blatantly obvious. I had gone into great detail on the strengths and weaknesses of each product, but I hadn't drawn a line from the feature to the value to how our company would benefit. Now, after I rewrote the business case to include the intangibles and tangible things in business terms with clear examples, the project easily sailed through committee. Above all, your business case must be fair and honest. Maybe you believe so strongly that the cloud is the right thing for your company and you've seen firsthand all the great things that you'll be able to do. But you must put that excitement aside and draw out the facts as they are. As we'll talk in a later module, we humans generally prefer to maintain status quo. So your business case is already up against the current organizational inertia. If people get the slightest hint that you might be adjusting the numbers in your favor or making some unlikely assumptions, that's going to undermine the entire business case and maybe your reputation. The cloud is not right for every organization or situation. If now isn't the right time, maybe sometime in the future will be. Your integrity is way more important. Okay, with those 3 themes in mind, just how does one get started with a business case? Well, at the highest level, it will be centered on some strategic benefit or challenge, some need that isn't being met through your current state. Now, it's okay if this need isn't widely known across your organization. Many times, companies just carry on day to day without knowing there might be a better way to do things. The progressive companies will have intentional R&D budgets or innovation labs looking out over the horizon, but lots of firms are just treading water and trying to get by quarter to quarter. If you've identified this need and think it might be aided by cloud computing, that's a good place to start. Next, you'll want to channel your inner Bob Ross and paint a picture of what the future could look like given the introduction of cloud computing. How might adopting the cloud benefit your customers and your employees? Could you streamline prototyping to get things to market faster? Maybe you need to prepare for international expansion, or maybe you want to avoid building more data centers. At a high level, this should be the vision. Now, this series isn't going to cover specific cloud provider platforms or features, but I did want to touch on something that is consistent across all the major providers in their recommendations for cloud adoption. Getting the most out of cloud providers takes lots of change and evolution, both in terms of technology, but also in people and in process. For this reason, all cloud providers endorse some version of what's commonly known as crawl, walk, run approach. This means that even if you have ambitious vision, it's best to start out small and build on success. With AWS, they suggest a small pilot project that may gateway into more foundational building. That foundation lays the groundwork for migrations of processes and workloads, which ultimately turn into a cycle of reinvention. Now, GCP describes companies as using the cloud to first address tactical issues. Then, as skill and familiarity increase, more strategic objectives are pursued, progressing ultimately into transformational capabilities, which allow organizations to go farther and faster. Because cloud adoption should be thought of as an evolution, I recommend that people create business cases that look more like business plans. While a business case will generally be focused on supporting one decision, a business plan will have a longer-term view and spell out actions and phases after the initial decision has been made. Business plans will usually have milestones and metrics to help provide indicators of how objectives are trending. A cloud migration isn't a single event, but rather a whole series of interconnected activities. And it's important to create transparency throughout the evolution and tell the story as it happens, including all the things that aren't going as planned. At the same time, you'll have things that turn out better than you expected, and you can capitalize on these moments to build positive momentum. Now, just what should you include in your business case? As previously mentioned, you should include the problem or need, emphasis on the right problem or need. And you should spell out that future vision that you imagined. It's likely that this vision is going to have multiple phases over time, which is why I'm suggesting more of a business plan approach. Now, you might also want to include some current state information, like how your specific challenge is negatively impacting your competitiveness or economic position. You'll definitely need to include some architectural description of what you're proposing. Is it a pilot project for offsite storage, or maybe you'll be moving your dev and QA environments into the cloud? If you're following a crawl, walk, run flow, your architectural picture will evolve over time, and you should spell this out too. Now, in the cloud architecture module, we'll cover some migration strategies and methods that you might want to consider. Now, as tedious and challenging as it may be, you'll need to include some financial information. Be on the lookout for both tangible and intangible costs and benefits. For example, many companies find that their data security posture improves after moving to the cloud, partly because the tools to manage the security are more accessible and easier to use. Now, while this might not have a clear cost that shows up on some invoice, it can come through in the way of labor savings or lower risk. The cloud cost module covers some things you might want to consider in this space. A common objection to cloud migrations is the perceived lack of management and increased risk. And this is where your plans around cloud governance and security will come into play. You'll want to build out some substance around how you intend to uphold these existing company standards and requirements. And this can be a tricky space depending on how the security and governance functions are currently perceived in your organization. Now, in my experience, you simply can't mandate responsibility. Rather, it's more effective to create guardrails and make it easier to uphold the standards than it is to do something outside those guardrails. Now, in the governance and security module, we'll cover some ideas that might be helpful in this space. Now, you'll most definitely want to include in your business case how the cloud project will impact and support the people of your organization. Cloud adoption provides many new capabilities and opportunities, but it can also create concern and skepticism within your organization. In my experience, the most challenging part of cloud adoption isn't the technology at all, but the degree to which people lean into the new approaches and methods of working. Just assuming that people will learn the new ways organically can have some pretty negative side effects, as you'll hear about in other modules. Instead, you'll want to spell out an upskilling framework with specific metrics and measurables. Additionally, you'll want to include some expectations around how your organization might evolve around roles and responsibilities. With cloud migrations, some roles disappear, while others are created, and sometimes separate roles merge into a single job description. You might also need to set some expectations on additional hiring or consulting spend. Now, we'll cover more on the organizational impacts in the organizational change module. To help you get started, we've included some templates, questionnaires, and online resources designed to get your thoughts organized and get your business case going. Every situation is different, so it's not as easy as following some standard recipe. Many companies have been through this similar process, and lots have gone on to move into the cloud, enjoying great success and sometimes giving new life to their company. Of course, there are also cases of complete cloud disasters, and I'll point out some of those missteps throughout the other modules. Finally, crafting a solid business case is really hard. And don't feel that you need to do it all by yourself. Enlist the help of others, even if it's just a passing conversation or asking someone to act as a devil's advocate. These additional perspectives can really provide new insight and turn a weak business case into something that can greatly increase your professional reputation, not to mention the potential benefit to the organization.